Raleigh is one of the fastest growing cities in America, growing by 3.4% each year, as the local culture is rapidly changing and new capital gets brought in. Raleigh grows as it becomes a popular area for raising a family and finding work. Between 2000 and 2009, the Raleigh-Durham-Cary metropolitan area grew 40%, leading the nation. It's predicted that Raleigh will be the fastest growing area through 2025. This rapid population growth has had an effect on the community and standards of living as a whole, because more people are living in the same area demanding generally the same necessities to live, like food, gas, and affordable housing. And as they demand these things, the prices on commodities in the areas have increased over time, and the housing prices have significantly gone up. Prior to the urbanization of Raleigh, most of the area was rural, and Raleigh was a small town throughout the 1800s. The economy of North Carolina was built on agriculture with a focus on tobacco. Many of the locals who have grown up in Raleigh have lived a rural suburban lifestyle. However, with the rapid influx of capital in the recent years, this is changing. These changes in Raleigh and its culture are affecting many people, most notably Raleigh's poorer class who are struggling to keep up with the increasing costs of living. The change of local lifestyle in poor communities from the influx of capital and wealthy people moving in is known as gentrification. What we're seeing in Raleigh from the steady development of the area and increase in demand to live here are neighborhoods transitioning from blue collar to white collar, as blue collar people can no longer afford their neighborhoods, negatively affecting minorities in the process. Gentrification is thought of differently by different segments of the population that are affected. Poor people in the cities affected by gentrification generally feel negatively about it because it's raising the cost of living for them. So when they see an increase in out-of-state license plates and neighbors moving from outside the area, some people feel like their communities are being invaded by people who don't understand the culture and make life more difficult. As voices against gentrification become more known, people moving into Raleigh from out of state try to make more informed purchases and lessen their impact of gentrification. An article published by Emily Badger of the New York Times, "The Neighborhood is Mostly Black, the Home Buyers Are Mostly White," describes gentrification in the South Park area in Raleigh. The New York Times interviewed Andrew and Kelly Hudgens, a white couple, who purchased a home in an affordable housing area in 2017 in South Park, Raleigh. They looked at a racial dot map of Raleigh when they first moved into the area, which showed that the neighborhood they were moving into had a significant population of other races. The couple knew they wanted to be where white dots didn't dominate to spread diversity, but they worried about furthering gentrification themselves. Many neighborhoods that move in try to communicate with the neighbors already living in the area, regardless of their race or socioeconomic status. However, many of the locals living in affordable neighborhoods report that they feel ignored by wealthier people moving in, and that this is changing the local culture of the area and dividing the community. Wealthier people moving in don't feel like they're part of the problem because they enjoy the neighborhood. They aren't doing anything wrong, and they just moved in because it was a nice area for their family, and they can afford the price of the neighborhood. What many people don't see when they move in are the effects that large droves of people moving into the neighborhood and the area cause on the prices and the culture. As mentioned in the New York Times article, after the 2008 housing crisis, mortgage lending tightened, particularly for African Americans and Hispanics. White buyers got a head start in places like South Park, just as they were becoming newly desirable. By the time more lending returned for minorities, these neighborhoods were increasingly priced out of reach." End quote. At the same time, while gentrification can hurt poor communities, it can bring life back into communities depending on the individuals who move in. Many of the people who are moving into these old neighborhoods are successful, hardworking, middle-class citizens who do their part in helping and growing a healthy community, mentions Badger. Badger also says perhaps that couple would value more what South Park could become than what it is now or what it has been historically. Their home was also built on a long vacant lot, so they felt no one had been pushed out to make way for them. In the 2 years since, they've celebrated holidays with their neighbors and played with their children. From the porch swing, they've hung up to help meet everyone. They've also watched 4 other homes on the block cleared for redevelopment. At the same time, many of the longtime locals whose families have lived in the area for as many as 5 generations feel like when wealthier people move in masses, it's taking away an important part of their history and family by forcing them financially out of their communities. In the following chart from the United States Census Bureau, we see the median household income by race in 2020, showing that black households make a median of $46,000, while white households make a median of $75,000. In another chart, we see how black and Hispanics have a median net worth of $20,000 and $36,000 respectively, while white households have a median net worth of $181,000, and the size of this wealth disparity increases with households with college degrees. Another graph organized by the New York Times with data from the USCB shows that non-white home buyers match the average income for the area they move into, while comparatively, white buyers make a higher income than the average of the neighborhood they move into. As richer people can afford to outbuy the houses, prices go up, and locals who can't keep up are forced out. Gentrification isn't something unique to Raleigh. We see the same thing happening in many other major cities like Brooklyn, Atlanta, Indianapolis, and other places. In these graphs, orange represents the white population growth and blue represents the non-white population growth. Areas of high demand, usually located near major areas of work or convenient locations, experience high white growth, while other areas further away experience high non-white growth, which is likely caused by locals moving out into more affordable housing further away from their communities and history. Pastor Chris Jones, an active member of a smaller community, makes this comment on how capital inflow is affecting communities. You have a $500,000 home next to a home that's maybe $20,000. I wish that could stay. I wish those families could get to know each other, he said. But because of economics, that can't happen, end quote. Some efforts, like the Raleigh Affordable Housing Bond, have been enacted in an attempt to slow down gentrification in some areas by supporting public-private partnerships for new developments, land to build affordable housing, rehabilitation of older homes, financing to help cover the cost of building affordable housing, and money for first-time home buyers to make housing more accessible to lower-income families and individuals. Organizations like the Southeast Raleigh Promise nonprofit organization have helped their neighborhoods by building a public school system and a 120-unit affordable housing system called Beacon Ridge, close to restaurants and shopping. The goal of this organization is to help slow gentrification affecting minorities and the impoverished by assisting in housing and education from birth to college, while promoting high-quality health and wellness facilities to change the trajectory of Raleigh's neighborhoods and the community. The YMCA also partnered with them to help build playgrounds and combat poverty in an attempt to mitigate the effects of gentrification. Raleigh's housing prices are rising because of demand and the growing Research Triangle Park, and education and work opportunities. Many efforts are being made to help support the community and help people affected by gentrification. However, this is something that will continue to happen as more capital gets invested into the area inevitably. It's important for the community to be aware of what's happening on all socioeconomic levels through awareness, and help affected people through supporting bills and legislation to relieve stress caused by gentrification. Gentrification is not something that's going to suddenly stop. Cost of living and rent will continue to grow, meaning there will be more demand for affordable housing in less demanded or nearby parts around Raleigh. Raleigh's drastically changed from even 15 years ago, and it's going to continue to change as more people are pushed out and culture changes from the effects of gentrification. So it's important to be aware of what's going to happen in the future and be prepared for that.